Hey guys, Tim Gillette, Rock Around Your Blog, here for another one of our wonderful Blab sessions here on Blab, and hanging out here tonight. Today is January 11th, 2016, and I woke up this morning to go without even looking at my phone and got in the car, and my wife and I were going to coffee, and my wife pulls up her phone, and that's when we find out that David Bowie had passed away. So, and I remember hearing just last week that people talking about his birthday, and you know what I mean? And like, I wasn't always a big Bowie fan. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that the guy was bad. I mean, I thought he had great music. I wasn't a big fan of, Bowie like I have been over the years of people like the Eagles or, I've been a fan of the Eagles. I've been a fan of Van Halen. They're my two biggest ones. I like people like Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, things like that. But David Bowie, I wasn't a big fan. However, it doesn't mean in my Rock and Roll Keys to Business Success, doesn't mean like everything else that you can't learn something from what they did, from both their life, their business, and apply it to your business. And so everything I do with the Rock and Roll Keys to Business Success, it is music, motorcycles, mentorship. It is taking lessons from what else has happened outside in their world, adapting it to my world, all right, and then teaching it to you to adapt to your world. Yeah, I know Robin, Van Halen fans, huh? So, yeah, I'm a big Van Halen fan. So, and Robin, you know what I mean? Robin, you're more than welcome to jump in a window. All right, you guys, anybody jump in a window while we're waiting for anybody else to come back in. I know Bill's on the sidelines, but people can come in and out. I'm going to leave the windows open for you to pop in because I'm going to take things from you on David Bowie tonight. So, and is that Jamie who popped in? It is Jamie, isn't it? It is. Hey, Jamie. So, hey, Robin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So David Bowie, like I said, it wasn't a big thing to me, but I learned several things about David Bowie that can be adapted to business. Yeah. And I have three main ones, but I'm sure people will come in and out tonight and share ones that they might have that we can adapt to growing business or growing a blog or personal brand. And I want to share the three that I have, and then I'm going to go in about them. The three that I have is number one is, as I remember, David Bowie was never afraid to change. This guy, I mean, I can think of like 5 different faces of David Bowie. You know what I mean? And when it comes to your blog, your brand, all right, or your business, you got to be able to change. I mean, come on, he sang the song "Changes." Hello, that would be one of the ones that are huge for me. Was, you know what I mean? If you're not willing to change or adapt with where the audience is going, and me right now, I'm adapting my blog and I'm adapting where I'm going with my business, based on changes that are happening in the online world with Blab. All right, I wouldn't be on a Blab had I not found it, and I wouldn't be converting it to do things. And even now, spending a lot of my time getting ready to transition this to make it work into my outside speaking world to my sit at the desk and speak world. So, I mean, they're two different worlds. But having to make them work is what I want to do. Send in my best anymore. I'll be back. Okay, thanks, Tiffany. So
I'll be back.
You have to adapt. I'll be back. You have to adapt with the changes. All right, things are going to change right now. I think. I mean, if Robert C. Stern could be here, and I know he's got some issues he's dealing with tonight, is he would tell you, you know, live streaming is changing. Live streaming was kind of like new to the scene last year, but it's been around for a while. But all of a sudden, it became the new hip thing. And by the end of 2016, he'll tell you, Joel Kahn will tell you, everybody in social media will tell you, and I mean, Michael Selzner, any one of those people in social media will tell you, live streaming by the end of 2016 is going to be a whole different thing. And we're going to look back at where we are right now and go, wow, that was like ancient long time ago. You know?
Well, things will feel like we're looking at MySpace, right?
Yeah, it's the same way. All of us, we look at MySpace and go, wow, that's so ancient. Because I remember when MySpace was this huge thing. MySpace was the first place I ever started to build a following, and that was when I wasn't doing anything in the coaching world. That was just me being out there and having fun. And that's gone. It's totally changed. It's uprooted. So you've got to adapt with the changes, and that's what I've learned from David Bowie. The second thing I learned from David Bowie is he was always willing to, and somewhat different from changes, he was always willing to go into new ventures. We know him as the singer, soloist, joint ventures, movies, all right? I've seen him in TV commercials. You know what I mean? Musicals, yeah. Gwen, you said, what is he that he did with
He acted on stage in The Elephant Man. He also recently wrote the music for a musical that's...
He wrote the music for a musical, Gwen's saying. So it's my wife in the background. As we were talking about it, he's done some innovative things. Not just changing with the music industry, but changing with his world. I remember him acting in Labyrinth. How many of you remember Labyrinth and seeing him in that? That was an awesome movie. And it's probably the coolest looking David Bowie I've ever seen, I think. So, it was cool. Well, then I recall seeing him on a commercial for Sirius Radio or one of the satellite radio companies where he actually adapted into that. And the thing was, it was Snoop Dogg was looking for his necklace. And he goes around each one of the studios and says, "Hey, you see my necklace?" And David Bowie going, I don't know what you're talking about, right? And then they scoop away from him, and here's David Bowie looking at it going, he's got it on, right? The guy was innovative, and he was willing to do different things, all right? It wasn't just music that kept you David Bowie in your thoughts and in your mind. So, and then the third thing I wanted to do is probably the biggest thing that I see, and then I'm going to go into you guys and what you guys have seen from David Bowie over the years, was he was willing to collaborate with other people. David Bowie, the biggest collaboration I can think of, all right, and I know there's many of them, the biggest one is Bing Crosby. Two totally different generations of music come together and do a music song together and video. Was that not like...
Was that a live one, or was that one of those post-mortem?
No, that was live.
Okay, and I know that they did...
That was when he did... It was... What was the song he did? Was it Little Drummer Boy?
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. I think one of the first ones was over Christmas time on a Christmas show that he did with him. He did a couple others after that, I believe.
That's awesome.
But I think you're right. It was Little Drummer Boy.
I know Mick Jagger. That's the collaboration that always jumps out at me.
Yeah, he did a collaboration with Mick Jagger.
Right.
But some of the things you think of the people he's done things with. He's done stuff with Queen.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury. I seen a clip today where he was singing on stage with Tina Turner. But I don't think they did anything recorded collaboration. But he collaborated with tons of other things. And that's key in business, and especially in blogging, is if I want to get to know more people, I should get to know Robin. So Robin introduces me to her people. And then Robin gets to know me, so I introduce Robin to my people. That's what David Bowie did with the Bing Crosby thing is the biggest one, because you're talking two totally different generations of listeners of music. All right. And they put them together and made a video out of it. To me, that's the most memorable thing. And you look at David Bowie and he looks like a kid. So, and Bing Crosby looked like an old man. So.
He was.
Well, he was an old man.
Yeah, and Tim, I agree with you with what you're saying about the changes and the metamorphosis and his willingness to go outside the box, to appreciate other musicians, to appreciate other areas besides just music. And that's what I take away from him, is that I saw him over my lifespan change so much, and I always think that's incredible. Somebody out here made a comment, Lou Altman made a comment about Madonna does the same thing. And it's very true. These are people that can reinvent themselves. And no matter how old they get, they've stayed with the current, younger generation, even in music, which is really hard to do. And still appeal to their past audiences as well. And I have to say, Tim, only because I'm a huge Van Halen fan, that I think that they do that a lot of times too. Not as good, but I just had to get my Van Halen props in there. So,
yeah, I I'll give props to Eddie Van Halen. He did the greatest thing he ever did was that huge thing he did with Michael Jackson. All right, and that was, I mean, he doesn't even get credit for that. He didn't even get credit for that. It was just that they weren't doing, Van Halen wasn't doing collaboration stuff.
Right.
And basically the studio called up and said, hey, any chance, you know what I mean, you could help us come up, work out something with this musical riff.
Right.
And then he's like, sure. He grabbed his guitar, threw it in the back seat, and ran down to the studio, and he just did it.
Right.
For him.
And I think Eddie and Alex Van Halen are in that same part that they can appreciate other music. They both were brought up, you know, as classical musicians and stuff, and then turned it into rock. And I think David Bowie is the same way, that he, regardless of if you cared for his music or not, he had an appreciation for all styles of music and art forms in this industry. And he was able to appreciate and promote and really recognize other people and not just say it's all about me, 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 me. And I think that's one of the great things. So I just wanted to add that, Tim. And I see Laura's back. I have to jump off. I've got a blab of my own starting in a few minutes.
Okay.
But great topic. I'm going to stick around for a few minutes and watch as I get ready for my other one. Okay.
Yeah, before you go to yours, tell us what can you adapt to your business. All right, from what you learned from David Bowie.
Change and adapting and just embracing new things. Don't be afraid to try something else. It may or may not work, but it's going to appeal to someone and it's going to broaden my audience. Every time I try something new, it expands who I'm reaching. If I stick with the same things over and over again, I'm not going to reach very many new people. If I change and grow and expand, I'm going to reach new people all the time.
Yeah. I appreciate your time, Robin, and you know, look forward to maybe we'll pop over to yours when we're done here.
Okay, thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye, Robin.
Yeah, I think she's
Nazim, if you want, I wanted to pull this question up that he's got here, and I want to know what I want you to come in, if you can come in and talk about this. You know, and that's, you can come in and talk about this last album, because I did not see much of this last album, and I'd love to hear what you know about it, because I don't. Again, I'm going off of just the things I know. The other thing I found out was, I think Gwen told me this, was that his name was David Jones, and he changed it because of Davy Jones from the Monkees, which is another key thing we can learn in business, is sometimes about our brands, is too often we go stuck on, this is where I have to be.
Right.
You know, actors, musicians, a lot of them, that back then they had to assume stage names to be able to move forward, all right, and fit in there without stomping on someone else's stage name.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Huh?
You saying hi to me? No, I said you're absolutely right. You know, you have to take those things into consideration. But I think that, going back to the other thing, I think that creativity that he possessed inspired a lot of people throughout the industry, whether they cared for his type of music or not. Just his work ethic was ridiculous. So there's a lot to be said for that. I've listened to a couple things on his new album, and I do like it. But I know that he's gotten a lot of good reviews prior to him passing away. So it's not like, you know, they were saying, oh, well, now he's gone, so we're going to, you know, toot his horn or something. Yeah. But, yeah, he's an amazing individual.
Yeah. And, you know, he's very amazing. And I caught a glimpse of it today, but I didn't watch the whole thing because I was busy doing some other stuff, was that the video that everybody's posted on Facebook is that last video he did. Did any of you see that?
I saw part of it. I didn't watch the whole thing because I've had a really, really busy day, but I did see part of it.
Yeah, I seen part of it. Again, I'm just going off of things I know on David Bowie. I did not do this. I did not go out and do a lot of research because I wanted to basically make this a conversation tonight, not me come in and just teach from this, because I can adapt any music to teach. I don't want to just teach. I want your opinion on what you got from David Bowie and how you're going to apply it to your business, your blog, because that's true about anything I work with. You picked a very good topic, because
there is a lot of ways that you could apply a lot of different things from him into your business. First of all, is the creativity, thinking outside the box, not trying to do what everybody else is doing, but doing your own thing and giving it a lot of thought and making sure that it's giving out the message that you want to give out, not necessarily the message that maybe people think you should be giving out, because that's what makes us all unique and everybody different, and it keeps it interesting. And another thing is like you said, the collaboration and being the willingness to work with people and to befriend people and to help others up, as opposed to taking everything as a competition or to have any kind of jealous actions that show up in your business. Because to me, that's not, it's not, you're not going to get any traction ever out of that. But if you really are welcoming and sincere with people and very helpful, and it makes a huge difference. I know in my business, I would be nowhere near where I am today if it wasn't for the amazing people that I've had to deal with. So it's the same thing. You know, a lot of rappers do that. The big rappers will use their name. You know how they do that, and it makes a huge difference in people's careers. People that may have gone under the radar that were still very talented, they get a big name attached to them, and it pushes them up there and brings out some really interesting things.
I think Eminem and 50 Cent. Right. I mean, that was a huge collaboration there. I mean, huge takeoff because of what Eminem did for him. So.
Yeah, and Snoop Dogg does a lot of that. I mean, he is always working with these new artists that they find, you know, just anywhere. Some of them not even really represented yet. So
yeah, Dr. Dre is another one Gwen mentioned. Dr. Dre, another big one. So. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. There was a movie out. I have a strong feeling that he did a full closure with the launch last week, his birthday, and he kind of said, "Now I can leave." Yeah, Nazim, I think you're right with that. Yeah, I think he did with that. That was all coming out, and now I can leave this world. But how many of you remember the movie? What's the name of that movie?
Can't remember.
There's a movie. There was a movie, and
no, Vanessa Hudgens.
Vanessa Hudgens was in it.
Lisa Kudrow.
And it was Lisa Kudrow.
Battle of the Band.
There's something about the Battle of the Bands, and it was in New Jersey. I can't remember the name of the band now that played, because the one song from it is we have it on our playlist because it's a huge great song. But the kid that was in there, his mentor was David Bowie. He would follow stuff with David Bowie online, and the very end of the movie is David Bowie's voice, all right, and seeing him actually watching the kid's video and leaving a comment onto it.
I'll have to look that up.
Hey man, I like your music, all right. I'd sure like the chance to. Are you being represented or something like that? And the ending shot of the movie is the kid like with his phone in heaven, like you know? David Bowie was on. I mean, that's the way he was. So, yeah. But anyway, I mean, that was one of those things that he did. He was always willing and welcoming to do other stuff like that. There's a couple other people who were in that movie, and I can't think of who it was now. I wish I could find the movie.
I think too is that he never put himself in a box, so to speak. He always was changing and developing things and trying things that were different. And that's one of the things I don't like all of Bowie's music. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I do like particularly the earlier stuff, but I've always had enormous respect for him as a musician and as a businessman and as a person. I just think that he's really neat. He never let anybody tell him who he was. You know, how many times did he reinvent himself? So it's there's a lot to be said that, like you said, in connecting it to your business, there's a lot to be said for how he handled his personal and business life that was could definitely be used in anyone else's business.
So I'm looking at David Bowie's Wikipedia page right now, trying to find that movie, and it is not even in there. So Gwen's looking it up. But I mean, looking at the movies he was in.
Fan Slam.
Band Slam?
Band Slam.
Anyway. He was in the movie. She said it was Band Slam.
Band Slam.
I have not seen that.
And that was the David Gates and Red song.
I'm actually going to go see if I can Google that now. It was a 2009 movie called Band Slam. I'm going to actually see if it mentions it. Although they failed to win a competition, a YouTube video of their performance gains the band's popularity. David Bowie, portraying himself, sees the video and sends an email to Will explaining that he is starting an indie music label and interested in having the band as one of his fine artists. So, that's the interesting. I mean, that's where Bowie was. He was at the end of it. So, but yeah, he was in the Hunger and the Labyrinth. He was in both of them. Yeah, I was actually looking at all the movies that he was in. The Man Who Fell to Earth in 76, Just a Gigolo 78, Christine F., where he cameoed as himself, The Snowman, Yellowbeard, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, The Hunger, Jazz for Blue Jeans, Into the Night, Labyrinth, Absolute Beginners, The Last Temptation of Christ. He was in that in 1988. I didn't know. The Linguini Incident, Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, Dream On, Gunslinger's Revenge, Everybody Loves Sunshine. Everybody Loves Sunshine as Bernie? Really? I didn't know he was in that one. Zoolander, he was in Zoolander. He came in as himself. And The Prestige in 2006 was his last one. Everybody Loves Sunshine.
He's also been on stage. He was portrayed the Elephant Man.
Portrayed the Elephant Man. So, I mean, there's a lot of things he's done. So, interesting things that we can actually learn from David Bowie in our things. So, Man Who Fell to Earth, yeah, he was in that. I was going through the ones that are mentioned in there, so there's a couple of them not mentioned in there by the look of it that I knew of anyway. So, anyway, so what is anybody in the chat room or sidebars? If you learned something from David Bowie that you could apply to business, go ahead and type it in there for us. I'd like to make this discuss it. Because I want to take this as a lesson, not just I'm going to talk about David Bowie's life, but talk about how can we adapt if we actually take those who've gone before us and learn from their successes and their failures and adapt them to our business, we can become successful at whatever we do because everybody has a success story. We just have to find it. And that's one of the reasons why I created this thing on the Rock and Roll Keys to Business Success is learning from the success stories of others. And you learn from some of their failures, some of the things they messed up in. So,
He had some failure albums when he got off at the end of the right.
Really? He did? Bowie had some failure albums, so.
In fact, whenever he was in Germany at the time.
So, your thoughts, Laura? Help me out, girl.
You know, I just want to say something that I went on your website the other day because I had seen you in a blab, and I just want to know more about you. And what you're doing is really, really cool. It really is. I mean, the way that you're helping people understand what they're trying to do, who they are, and build their stories. I give you kudos for that. Good for you.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, it's just, you know, when you can get to somebody on that kind of level and actually make some type of positive change in their lives or in their business, that's powerful stuff. Sorry, I have a kitten that keeps running across my desk and my lap and throwing things off the desk. You have to excuse him, rather.
I'm going to read some of these comments down here because I know some of these guys can't command the windows. So Bill wrote, David, like many others, was a free spirit. They don't think outside the box because they have no box.
Absolutely.
Nauseum, good one. Always move ahead and change your approach to what you're doing. As he taught me. Nauseum, when I see you and see you on different blabs when you pop in, I can so see that in you, man. And it's awesome to see that. So that's it. I mean, we can learn lessons from everywhere we go. And again, like as I said, I mean, I admitted to you guys, I wasn't a big Bowie fan, all right? I'm not going to say the guy was bad. I think the guy was great. It just it wasn't that big ta-da for me like other bands are. However, some people, David Bowie was their was they're awesome. That was what they love to do. I mean, that's how each one of us have a different favorite, and for some, David Bowie was. However, he was very foundational in his music. You know what I mean? And that I do reward. I love people who are foundational in what they do. So.
But in the end, he ended up being a pretty strong family guy, too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Gwen said that. He said in the end, he ended up being a pretty strong family guy.
Family was very important to him.
So.
Yeah, that's something.
That's all I have for this. Unless you got more, Laura, because we don't have many people who can come in and add to it. So, guys, if you're in the sidelines, you want to come in and say something about how David Bowie adapted you to your business or lessons we can learn from him, please feel free to jump in the window and share. So,
another thing that I think that could be said too is to be fearless. I mean, he broke some serious barriers, and I mean, particularly personally, he came out as a bisexual way back when people didn't, and he made it very public, and he did a lot of things to help a lot of people be accepted, as their core person. It's really pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he did do that. I remember. So, it's just when we see that, guys, we need to applaud it and. We need to adapt it. So my closing thoughts on you guys this year tonight is, you got to adapt in your business. Number one, like I gave you some of the examples. Number one, don't be so cemented in your brand that you're not willing to change it. You're not, you know what I mean? There's not something out there else that might adapt. Again, you know what I mean? These musicians, a lot of them, or actors, had to change their stage name because someone else already had the stage name of their real name.
Right.
But I know people who are actors whose real name was hard to pronounce, so they gave him a stage name. All right, David Bowie was David Jones, who adapted. So
Kirk Douglas, wasn't his name like a Ivanovich? I mean, it was just like this ridiculously long name. And wasn't it Kirk Douglas that had to change his name?
I'm not sure about Kirk Douglas. So
I thought it was one of those from that era, anyways. And I think it was Kirk, but his name was huge. It was a very Slavic name. It was very difficult to pronounce.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we covered that already, Renee. I appreciate you popping that in, though. Yeah, we did cover reinvention. He's always willing to change and reinvent himself. The other one in there that we talked about tonight was the second one, all right, was change. All right, being willing to change and adapt in your field, all right, because your field's going to change, and you have to be able to adapt with where the audience wants to take you or where the audience wants to go. Your fans is what guides your business, all right? And if you're not willing to adapt for the fans and you're just creating art because I want to be an artist, you're going to be a broke artist, all right? You know what I mean? Your business has got to sell and got to adapt. It's one of the reasons why I'm now out on blogging and branding, because that's where my audience asked me to go as a speaker and as a business mentor. They asked me to go into that realm. Did not change the fact that I'm a mentor and I am a speaker. All right, and I coach. Doesn't change that. It just changes what direction I coach them in, because that's the direction they asked for help in. David Bowie constantly did that. Yeah. The next thing that I said about David Bowie is he was always willing to do other things. In other words, he wasn't standing there on stage going, well, if I don't make it in music, I'm not going to make it at all. He was in movies, TV shows, as we mentioned. He was in commercials. He adapted to things over the years. All right, he did a lot of different things. He was willing to adapt in his world, not just in his industry. And then the last thing I said, he was always willing to collaborate. He has some of the greatest collaborations out there. He has recorded collaborations with people like the ones like we talked about on here was he did something with Queen. He did something with Mick Jagger. Yep. And then lastly, that I mentioned, the biggest one that I know him for collaboration was Bing Crosby and doing the Christmas song, Little Drummer Boy, with him. He was huge on collaboration. Those are the things you got to go and yes, that's true. Those are the things that you've got to go in and adapt into your business and put into there. So that's my blab for the night. Again, I'm Tim Gillette, author and creator of the Rock and Roll Keys to Business Success. You can go by my webpage, timgillette.com. I'm going to type it down here in the window. All right. What I have on my page, guys, is I actually have an interactive video newsletter. If you go sign up for that, where I send you a newsletter each week with video tips on how to build your blog and personal brand, and you get to pick each week's tips. So by answering the surveys at the end of it. So if you go by and do that.
That's a great idea.
All right. And I will be back probably tomorrow night, but different time frame, because I'm actually doing a live workshop here in Dallas tomorrow night. Different time frame with something different tomorrow. So stay tuned to my blog channel, my Blab channel here, as well as check out my blogs. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.